For people just joining in, this is going to be a continuation of my sort of homemade Facebreaker build, primarily going through Acts 4 and 5. I probably will pause the recording between Acts 4 and 5, so there'll probably be separate videos on YouTube. But for the stream, there'll probably just be a short stretch break between the two. I got reworked a little bit of links on some of my items, so it should help us do a little bit more damage going through 4 and 5. And sort of picked up a piece of armor that's sort of looking forward to level 55, which probably won't be during this play session. Probably be Act 6 when this comes online. But yeah, this build as it is should roll fairly easily through Acts 4 and 5. Just picking up skill points as we go. So as you do when you start at Act 4, is you got to go down and effectively get the key to go into the mine. So we come down here. We're gonna go find. I forget the name of the guy. We're gonna go find the guy with the banner. One problem with the more links I've added is we're going a little faster through the mana. We're gonna have a little bit less mana sustain for at least a couple levels. We're also a little under-leveled. For sort of casually doing it, we're only level 32. Which doesn't matter as much on the Facebreaker build, because we're not getting as much damage from levels as we might on a caster build, but it would make a bigger difference on the caster build being this under-leveled. Why I'm not just rushing through to find character that we need to kill. Also just got a bunch of gems that haven't been leveled, so I'm sort of slowly leveling those gems up as well. I don't think it's worth it time-wise to kill the red beast here. So I'm gonna skip the red beast. One of these days I'll have to properly engage with that league mechanic and collect all the small amount of loot that I've generated over the time, but right now I'm not gonna bother. honestly, this fight isn't particularly hard. We're just waiting for our low damage to sort of deal with the problem, which isn't necessarily the best. Probably still like more damage. But this is very much character doing Facebreaker build with not a optimal Facebreaker, just with a Facebreaker. Sort of naked, right? We haven't even put any armor on yet. So this isn't. I guess this is showing you what level of damage Facebreaker almost by itself does with basic blinking. Which is enough to take down this boss while avoiding most of everything else to actually, to some degree, tanking, right? So we're a lot more hit points than we need. We got enough hit points for the entire act, and we're at the beginning of it, so... probably the fastest way to get back is just to teleport back. So I'm going to teleport back. I'm going to save us a couple seconds. And now that we've got Deshret's banner here, we can open up the thing and go into the mine. And we have our Intrepid hero here informing that he's informing Katave he's coming for him. Which I suppose with when he gets voice lines in Act 5+ is going to become very literal. Zone, so we don't really need to hang around here. That we don't want to completely bypass everything also. So we don't need that much XP. We do need to keep getting XP. That's really what we're in right now, is we need to keep getting XP. Because to stay ahead of sort of the life curve, we do need to level. I believe it might be, it's either this zone or it's the next zone that has this point in it. I'll recognize it when we see it coming to the Fargo War. But there's a person that if you release in here, I believe you get a skill from Blue Flex if you're down. West past it. In this case, I'll have to go back and get it. I desperately need the skill point right now, so it's not going to really affect much. Other than the confusion of where I left the skill point behind. And a 36. We've got the hideout zone on the side. If I wanted to go pick up the hideout, I need to go pick up the hideout. Hopefully this is not a complete dead end and I can get through here effectively. Yeah, it looks like. Going ahead and doing the strong box just for the little bit more XP it's going to give by killing old stuff. Right. Definitely with the skill point behind. I'm going to go back for it. It's not going to take that long to do the loop. I'm a little bit underleveled, which again, as the Facebreaker build, probably doesn't matter as long as I don't get so underleveled I'm getting XP penaltied. But trying to make sure that I don't get XP penalty is still got some value to it. And then with the zone boss. Zone bosses don't generally matter that much in Axe, but they are still unique monsters, so they still have a decent density of XP. Back. Here we go. Mines 2. Mine 2 is, I'm pretty sure, where the skill point I accidentally skipped is. And I would like that skill point in the long run. There's no teleport zone in Mines 2, so it's a little harder to pick it up later if I miss it. So having a partially completed zone 2 to find it will help. I already got the teleport in the Crystal Mines, so after I get this, I can teleport out and then teleport over to where I need to be for the next zone. There it is. So we freed the Deseret Spirit. I'm gonna hang around for all a couple seconds because the some guy is here, I think. There he is. From a time to effort standpoint, he's fairly efficient. Or time to reward standpoint, he's fairly efficient. 36. Yeah, so that's another reason to not get too far behind a level, is we're starting to reach the point where the items we're dropping are actually higher level than us. And we'd like to not have that happen. I suppose I can pick up this skill point while I'm here.
Go where you are needed.
Gives it to me.
It would be wrong to do that.
Was that just a respec point? I've just been respec points.
I am Cahome's weight. I felt.
There it is.
Tortured, yet unbroken.
And as I said, I picked up the quick travel zone in the crystal vein, so we can just go straight there. We need to destroy our armor first. It doesn't make a big difference which one of those two you do first. I think they're both the same level. Most people just do Desiraro first.
It was here in the pits of Cleopolis that I made my name. By the dark wild wars, before I could even consider this is the glorious arenas. I care nothing for
Again, zone unique. Tend to have a slightly higher XP ratio than the normal generic mooks, so we're gonna take him out while we've got the opportunity. And I think that's a health pot upgrade. Yep. So this zone, if you're just trying to rush through it, it's basically lots of little arena fights. So I've been not necessarily doing the best job, but semi-trying to ignore the fights between the arena fights, because they're sort of the optimal ones, and just sort of zoom into the arena ones. Just to get where I'm going faster. Okay, so I think this is the last arena fight. It's also the biggest. It has another zone boss in it. I believe there's a map version of this zone boss, so depending on how difficult you made that map, that's not that bad. I think I had a pretty bad experience with this map, with the map version of this guy recently. Mainly because I had made the map pretty rapey. So the map arena got filled with old yads. we got Deseraro taunting us. We'll go say hello to him very shortly.
It is here that I first laid eyes upon my true purpose.
Talking about his siren lover.
Our inspiration.
To be fair, at this time, I don't think. Well, when he met her, she wasn't a siren. And I suppose at this point, they're both very dead, right? So we're in Afterlife Dreamscape for him, and we killed her earlier. Well, so I've got someone saying hi in chat. Having a little difficulty trying to both read the chat and try to receive more at the same time. Saying something about they both do YouTube and Twitch as well. Multiple rares here. No, we've killed most of the bulk and we're down to the rares. It's a lot harder, or a lot easier to move around. These are some really tanky. Well, I suppose I'm kind of running into a problem with the Facebreaker. Isn't doing super great damage at the moment. It's just at the moment it's still a very tanky build. Probably don't want to sell those. Yeah, try to sell those. Right. We don't need to deal with that rare. So we're level 36. I think still roughly going to plan. Looks like we actually went the other way on that trip. The fact that this build does have pretty good AoE to try to clear out a bunch of the cool guys in here so we can get XP off of them. Even though the damage does look a bit bad, it is a bit bad, what we're actually working towards on the tree is one of the easier sources of damage, which is we're going to get something like 8% increased damage from each endurance charge. And as we see, this build's pretty casually maintaining 4 endurance charges right now. And once we get the damage from endurance charges, we're gonna raise that limit very rapidly to 6. And 48% more damage is nothing to sneeze at on a build that doesn't have any of the easy stuff that you can get from, like, oh, bonus damage if you're using swords, or bonus damage if you're using axes, etc. And at the same time, because we're very casually keeping up 4 endurance checks, or 4 endurance stats, we are rolling around with like 16% Fizz and resistance. Something that my SRS build, which has a lot more damage in this build, would not be disappointed in having. Even I think it doesn't have that level of resistance, physical resistance. So here's the last arena before we get to Desiraro himself. Basically the 3-zone uniques. One down. And all of them down. And with that, we can go see Desiraro himself, who should be in the next main arena room. Especially if we're passionate enough to defeat him, and, you know, that might be up for debate, but he's also, I think technically, canonically at this time, we're in, like, the afterlife going to steal something from him, so he's already died once. Which I suppose, depending upon how well your afterlife is going, is gonna make anyone cocky.
Is nothing if he cannot defend his crown.
And much like Hillick, one of the ways to just avoid most of his attacks is to walk circles around him. So here's his regen phase. Technically, I think during his regen phase he doesn't regen, but if you over damaged him, he'll recover the over damage. So you basically only do a quarter of him per phase. It doesn't really get any harder in each of the following phases. I think his cooldowns on his bigger things might go a little shorter, but it's not that much different. And again, this build as it is right now is incredibly tanky. So I'm at no real risk unless I make a real big mistake of dying to him. It's just I would personally like to be able to kill him a little bit faster than it's taking. It's a bit slow. But again, that's probably for... I got a pretty bad Facebreaker on me. I've got, like... I think the min you can roll is 350% more melee unarmed fizz. It can go up to like 900 something, and I'm like 680, so I'm almost as bad as you can get on the Facebreaker. But it works even then, right? So we're still doing a lot better than if we didn't have the Facebreaker on. A Facebreakerless build without Facebreaker. Well, a Facebreaker build without Facebreaker would be very much a meme, because you would basically do 0 damage. This is doing almost 700% more damage than one without a Facebreaker would be doing. If anything, I'm taking as much damage as I am because I'm getting sloppy, just because of how long the blade's going. There you go. So we come here for the Eye of Desire. Now we Portal Black out and go back in the other side to go get The one from the fire guy. Back into the crystal veins, into the other portal. I think we can give this to Dahlia right now.
Ta-ta.
Did that
Not
go to
a
Dahlia? It did go to
cockroach.
Dahlia. So Dahlia will take it off of you if you're having inventory problems. Inventory space problems.
The ancestors would weep to see what Calm has created.
We got our Kari guy complaining about his otherwise Kari relatives' afterlife. Wrong one. Wanted to be more efficient. I had to go the other way. Okay. The one the way up is there. Yeah, we'll go along here. Okay. You're not going to be worth it. Damn, taking enough damage. And again, this build is still running with multiple unnecessarily empty slots, right? So I've got an idea for what the armor I'm going to put on this guy is, but I can't actually put that armor until 55, and that's 19 levels away, so I'm making this unnecessarily more complicated and difficult than it needs to be. Just because I'm too lazy to look for proper items. Just sort of casually cruising through all the enemies, killing some every once in a while just to get some XP. We do still need to slowly level. Otherwise we'll have problems later of being way overleveled. So what we're going down for is this one right here, which is 8% more damage per endurance charge, as well as it gives us a minimum endurance charge, so we just have some endurance charge. Area vac, sun vision, minor stuff. No, I wanted that up there. Thank you. We got the portal, so if something goes wrong, we can always come back here. guys. They give a little bit more XP than anyone else. So we'll quickly try to squish them for their XP. And this build is not very complicated. At the moment, it's basically 4-button build. We have one that's the basic ground slam, one that's the Val ground slam, which is the 360 AoE. I've got Enduring Cry as a way to reliably keep up the endurance stacks, or get some early in a fight. And I have Flame Dash, and that's really all the buttons. So it's a nice, simple build if you've got the equipment. And probably if you've got the equipment, it's significantly more damaging build than this build, because right now, the build as it is starting to feel a little bad in the damage department, just because I don't have a particularly great Facebreaker, and I'm not doing a lot to really scale the damage. Though at the same time, it is the way you play a meme build of not having a weapon, right? So this is I'm just melee attacking with my fist, and that build does work as the way the game has it set up. So if you've got Facebreaker, it's working, and it is working. It's just a little slow. Something about Twitch stats looks like it's wrong. Though it might not be wrong, and maybe the person that left the message didn't watch the stream for any seconds, but who knows? And again, as you're immediately saying, yeah, I'd like a lot more damage on this build. We're not in any particular threat fighting Column here. At least not by himself, but we're not as much of a threat to him as we'd like to be either. Basically, by moving, we're avoiding most of his damage, and can sort of casually recover the rest. Like 10% now. Something that will be a little bit nicer when I actually get that body armor on us. That body armor is a 5-link, so the ground slam here will be at that point linked. They're gone ahead and have quite a picked up. Oh no, actually, what was I thinking about? No, I was thinking about having a calling strike instead of the green one. Never mind. But it will be linked with something that's, well, actually, I suppose that's just more loot at that point. I was thinking of picking up. I think I was thinking of calling strike as the blue. So that's what we needed from home stronghold. And yeah, I think calling strike would definitely be better than rarity. There was a couple of other options for blue. I went with rarity because obviously it doesn't really matter right now. Until I'm level 55 anyway.
The way to a god's heart is through his guts.
Our powery friend here making statements about how you get to guy's heart. Or at least a god's heart. We're approaching the place where, if this was the hardcore server, I'd be most likely to die, which is one of the reasons I actually don't do hardcore, is I'm, other than just occasionally sometimes having weird things happen to me because I'm not being super attention all the time. There are parts of the game where I have not yet mastered not dying. And I think the piety fight coming up is the one where I'm actually the most likely just to randomly die. And this build's not going to necessarily help either, because this build again has got low damage. So piety's not in this zone, but piety's in the next zone. I see no reason why we're having problems getting there. We might die once or twice against me. We'll see. No, I suppose other than me not being very good at the fight, there isn't any good reason for this build to die against Piety other than the low damage, just making it take a long fight. And we're not as overkill in the HP as we were earlier. I want something like 300 hit points per act. And as we're coming up on the end of Act 4, we're only at 1300. Which is 100 more than that statement implies we should have. But 100 more than that statement implies we should have is, especially because Act 5 is really short, is maybe not the best place to be. Gone down the dead end. And again, in theory, you don't necessarily need to kill everything down here. I probably don't need to kill everything down here. I'm at 37. It's a 38 zone. We don't want to be 5 below, so we're still within the ideal range, which is plus or minus 5. I do need to remember, I am not on... The SRS build is basically a spell build, because your minions hit points scale the level of the gem. And if you're doing popcorn, then it's the hit points of your minions when they explode that determines how much damage you do. This build technically scales off of weapon damage, but because the weapon's punching, that doesn't scale up as we level. In fact, arguably that doesn't scale up at all, so this build only gets, if you're not getting your equipment to be better, it only gets worse as you level. Well, as your zone levels, right? So the enemies aren't getting any harder, the zone's not getting higher level. Okay, here's the end of this zone. We're into the second part of the Belly of the Beast. This is the part with Piety in it. There's definitely other ways you could take this build than I am doing, right? So I'm doing a endurance charge shield build. You could almost call it a meme. If you were to meme this build, you could almost call it like a shield hero build, where it's all about not having a weapon and just having a shield. So we're going to defeat Piety, then we're going to defeat the small cadre of bosses right before the Nightmare himself, and then we defeat the Nightmare. And then we finish Act 4. Because I tend to include, I suppose technically these days it is still part, well, it is still part of Act 4, is the transition zone over into Act 5. But I tend to treat that as part of Act 5. So we're going to defeat the Act 4 boss. Instead of doing the transition zone, I'm going to take a quick break between Act 4 and 5 before that transition zone, and then we're going to go move to Act 5 and probably zoom through Act 5. I'm not going to stop the stream during that quick break, but I will stop the YouTube recording. And again, other than the low damage, this build is very casually doing everything. It's tanky enough to sort of make up for the shortfalls of 0 DPS. You have to be careful here. Those minions blowing up is something threatening enough to actually kill this build. Probably. I accidentally go in loop. Oh, that's still the wrong way. There's the room with Piety. So here, let's go fight Piety.
You've done well, Brit, but let's not get above ourselves.
Piety is apparently resistant enough to not be stunned, which I suppose is reasonable to expect. So I can't stun her out of that phase, for example. And her auto attacks do hit hard, so don't take those as a nothing burger. In fact, if anything, I'm noticing they hit harder than the orbs. I'm probably better off just standing in the orbs than taking an auto attack to the face. And again, in this case, what's making this fight potentially hard, and why I might actually die here, is that this build doesn't really have very high damage. Because there's so much going on, it's a little hard to clear the ads, and that's putting me a little close to Piety in my donuts going around her. It's making it a little easier for her to auto-attack me, I would prefer. But again, this is not necessarily... Right, if I had more damage, this would be a casual fight. This would not be a problem at all. The only thing that's making it hard is actually the lack of damage here. The build is otherwise tanky enough just to take everything else on the face as it needs to. I may not be able to stun Piety, but apparently Piety can stun me, which is a little annoying. It's not a long stun when she's done it, but she's definitely staggered my character a couple times. And the laser beam does hurt, which is why I am trying to avoid it as much as I can. Oh, the ads are starting to become a problem. I think they pick up the more the fight goes on, which is why, again, why the low damage is the problem. There we go. Fight's done.
Calm wasn't half the man you are, Marauder.
She demands that I say hi before I leave. Pee through the butthole. Oh, I suppose it's technically supposed to be a more like a blood vessel valve than a
Betray me.
other different type of sphincter
Your head.
that leads through the sphincter. Yeah, you're gonna take 20 kills, so we're gonna move on. Move on to the other mini bosses in this zone. We're level 38 in a 40 zone, so we should probably still try to keep leveling. I mean, I still don't want to fall too far behind. Due to the speed running and skipping enemies. I guess he decided it was a body that he was literally going to kill for. Oh, I'm really feeling the lack of damage right now. He hits hard, and I don't hit as hard in return. The lack of mana here or the lack of pots here has finally gotten too annoying. Excuse me while I do a quick cheeky little gate to high gate. Just to refresh the pots. Because I was having to use the pots to maintain the tankiness against him to take his attacks face on to get enough damage to reliably get through that shield. Hopefully I don't have quite the same struggle with the next couple of mini-bosses.
The greatest form. I never stopped.
Your sickness is ended.
Yeah, that sort of breathy response there is kind of how I felt about that fight. It was not going quite the way I wanted it, and it was taking way too long.
Gorgeous. Slice away the Slice away the Beauty shall give in to grace.
Yeah, more and more as it goes along, I'm feeling the 0 DPS of the build going in. It'll hopefully get fixed as I start getting damage from various sources. I would have to burn. Well, it's probably cheaper just to buy a better rolled Facebreaker off the market than to try to fix it with the Divine Orbs.
Beauty shall forgive thee.
Even though I do have a below average Facebreaker, so to significantly improve the Facebreaker would be 1 Divine Orb. It's still 1 more Divine Orb than it's probably worth. Having mana problems.
Lovely. Lovely. Slice away the beauty shall give in to grace.
Okay. That was somewhat annoying at the end.
Ancestors demanded.
Oh, I can swap over to the better boots, I think, is what I've got here. Swap over to my gold room. Which is better movement speed. Is it better movement speed? It actually might be worse movement speed. Swap over to the higher level boots anyway. More mana regen. More mana regen will be good. Should hopefully have less of that problem. Let's be a little bit closer to fully mana sustain. Okay, one more boss before we go to the actual Act boss. The Act boss should be... Well, I don't know. With this level of damage, the Act boss might actually be fairly complicated. the whole regen when the hearts are open stick is not that bad to deal with if you have the damage to rapidly take the hearts down. Yeah, which color is which here? There's probably a color I want to be in and a color I don't want to be in. Of course, to make it extra confusing, she moves around every once in a while. Okay, so you're the slow one, so stay out of purple. Actually did the first dying. Again, probably almost entirely due to the fact that this build is having damage throw issues. It's just the fight is taking way too long. Of course, she goes and immediately buries herself in the attack speed reducing area zone. Okay, that was getting tiresome. I'm gonna refresh the pots, sort the inventory out a bit, just to take a short breather from that. actually an improvement. I'm now high enough level to use that improvement. Oh, yeah, that's actually an improvement.
What do you want? Go where you are needed.
Let's try to let's try to suffer a little bit less this time. Really? Why are you running away into the slow? Oof. Yeah, not having the best time of this fight. And wait, this fight's actually going even worse than the piety one. The piety one went actually surprisingly well for the fact that I have no damage. That's partially me just standing in the middle of the arena. So in the middle of the arena, you're in the area, in the aura of all three of them, which is like the worst place to be because I'm getting the attack speed, taking away my ability to do damage. I'm getting hit with both the debuffs. Of course, you gotta go bury yourself as deep into the purple as you can go. Just to screw with me. At this point, I just want the fight out of the way, because the rest of the fights haven't been this bad. And the solution to fixing the problems I currently have are all by leveling enough to get more damage off the tree, the passive tree. Coupled with effectively the range on this build is your AoE, which I haven't gotten to scaling yet, so I'm pretty melee, and the whole, every once in a while the character I'm fighting is deciding to go bury itself as deep in the purple zone as it can. It's really annoying. Like, because of how this purple zone's working, this is not, like, an interesting fight for me. This is just like, oh, there's a zone where if the enemy goes and buries itself in the middle of, I do no damage. Yeah. Okay. That really annoying fight that was far harder than it had any right to be is no longer in our rotation. We can move on to more interesting things and more interesting farming areas, right? Because some of the damage problems can be just solved by leveling, and this is a bad place to be leveling in.
In this moment, you and I will create the most beautiful of nightmares together. Creation? Rather the realm of the gods, isn't it? bow your head to your one true god.
Now, Exile!
Embrace the future.
Now this is a much, even though in theory this is a later fight and should be a harder fight, this is at least an interesting fight because there's real things to dodge that are moving around, and not just a zone of you hate yourself. That's
Now, Exile!
first phase of piety down. Let's get Malachi to put us in the second phase of piety, so we can finish piety off and move on to the real final fight. And again, like a lot of the fights, if you can just do donuts around them in the right speed, then they're a lot easier to deal with. Like, the fact that this guy doesn't have an energy shield, and just has better telegraphed attacks for the purposes of what my character needs to do, is making it a whole lot more of an enjoyable fight. This is an enjoyable fight. It's still a bit slow from the lack of damage, but it's an enjoyable fight. Unlike that last one. The last one was just a bit rage-inducing how badly it went. And the last one's also part of the reason I don't do hardcore, because every once in a while, depending on what your goals are, you have to do a fight that your character might not be particularly great at. And when you're doing your funnier builds like Facebreaker, if you haven't built quite the right way, and there's probably a better way to build it where you don't have that problem, right? That's me home building or home brewing a build that, as you've probably seen, up to that point has not died, right? So that's the first point where I've died on this build. Well, died multiple times with that failed.
Now, let us see if you truly understand what it means to be Nightmare.
And again, his health points are not that absurd, or all things considered, on this fight, just because he's got a regen mechanic. So it's actually quite reasonable to fight him with this build that doesn't have 101 damage. Whereas that last person was just like, yeah, there's a purple zone that just says F you. Which, for some builds, like my SRS build, was like trivial. That wasn't a problem with the SRS build. The SRS build just casually puts that person out. And this is where you're seeing why the regen mechanic has sometimes a little influence, because if you don't quite have the DPS to quickly delete the hearts, he'll just regen to full after everyone on each heart. There's the first heart, so he's back at full, so we have to take him back down. I think it's about the same place again where he was, so we have to take him back. We have to take him down to half now. Deal with the next heart, and then we punch the next heart to non-existence, and then he'll have to reduce to quarter, and then he'll open up the last heart. It's at least unlike that Curse Hex or fight, an actual interesting fight. Like, the curse effect is interesting, but if you've got like a low DPS build, especially a low DPS melee build, where the person you're trying to fight can just go hide in the no attack speed zone, it's sad and annoying. He's about to do the erupt and do damage where he pops up. Point. He's about to do it again. Might do some better theory crafting with the link gems I'm using. It might just be that I'm not using the best point gems right now for the Facebreaker Grand Slam build as well, which there are remedies for, which is just change the gems.
Accept the gift of immortality.
What he does not understand is that we have Gift of Immortality that is respawn at checkpoint. Well, it looks like he doesn't. Well, actually, no. I think he is still recovering. He's just not recovering as fast as those, so I can't do it. And yeah, the SRS build that I actually normally run would have already casually done this fight by now. Because this is around about the point where the SRS build's really taking off. There we go. Last Heart of the Beast. We are at the point in the map where we got the red orb of pain following us around. Red orb of pain following us around.
Are you so in love with death?
Says the person who lives in the Heart of Blood. Anyone's got a little bit more of a death motif going on, it's you. I've got the naked D&D adventure vibe going on here. Oh, I thought this act was going to be under an hour. A half an hour ago. When it was just the bosses to go. Because of how long the bosses are taking. I'm wrong. But this is the last phase. We're just have to burn the boss down, he's down. So this is a fight we are on track to win. Because as I've shown, this build is, other than the circumstances where it's just annoying with that one Hex Aura person, these fights haven't been undoable with this level damage. And it's definitely some very minor changes could probably fix this for someone who knows how to work the passive tree a little bit better. Or hell, work the items better, because I'm still running way too much unique junk. That's not appropriate for what we're doing. It is providing us lots of hit points and providing us lots of resists, so I'm already basically at the point where I'm resist capped when we leave Act 5, so I've got way more resist than I need. There we go. He's down. Looks like most of this is probably, at this point, still drunk. So we can keep ignoring it. When we get back into town, you know, I'll collect this because I'm going to take a short break. I like them during the break. But this is where I'm going to take a short break to stretch before moving on to Act 5. So if you're on YouTube, that's what's happened. That's why, or if you're on YouTube, I'm going to stop the recording now. Everyone else in the stream, which I think is 0 people, but